I feel like now, Will,
Beautifully said.
I've been trying,
Hold
and
on,
I need
hold
you to
on,
do this.
Ann.
I'm
Hold
not
on, Ann.
talking to you. I need to talk. I'm talking
Okay,
to Will
okay.
now. Okay. So let me give you the back end on that. You look at sex industry is 75.4 billion. The music industry makes 35.4 billion, right? In the back end, server companies, IBM, Google, Microsoft. You look at all the big servers. The biggest buyers of servers are the corn industry. Platforms like OAV, those are the people who are holding them almost. They hold most of the server space. They spend more when it comes to traffic space. I worked in IoT edge computing. The back end and our number one buyers were the corn industry. That's one. So yes, you may be right. It's not in the top, but the people who are rich, half of them are also rich because they have companies that are in the sex work industry that do buy their product at a high volume. That's one. So that's one of the points I want to make. I didn't say it was the thing that keeps society. I said it's a complicit part of society. Okay, now you moved on and said that you don't want your daughter to do the sex work industry. Of course you shouldn't. You should be a father and make enough money and set your daughter up enough where she doesn't need to ever be in the sex industry. And I think every man here should definitely make sure they make enough money and they become financially savvy enough and financially responsible enough that when they create a family and they create a household, that their kids never have to enter the sex work industry and make ends meet. Going into that secondary, the sex work industry has been very much profitable for women who didn't come from daddy's pockets, who didn't grow up with a silver spoon, and had to do what they had to do to make it out. And that's half of the reason why a lot of girls get into the sex work industry. They do it to build wealth because they didn't come with a silver spoon. They don't have the luxuries of making life meet back when what women have had their rights of life in 50 years in America. Here women have only had autonomy, 85% autonomy in society in 50 years. Prior to it, the sex industry was how women were able to fund when men would leave them stranded with kids and they couldn't afford it. That was how half of them made money and made ends meet. So it wasn't like it's a decision that most women went into back in the day because it was glamorous. It's what they had to do to put food on the table because they weren't born with a silver spoon. You called me a whore and made all your opinions and things like that. In this modern age, you look at girls who are OnlyFans. I have a friend on OnlyFans. She makes $1.2 million a month off of OnlyFans. Now you can say it's because men are whores or girls are whores, whatever you may say. But guess what? She used that money to flip it to start a business. No one's saying this is a lifestyle choice on a long term, but I also promote it for women who don't have the luxury to come in and have men like you who is a perfect daddy, a perfect husband who creates that. So I'm not going to sit here and allow you to degrade the industry and seem like because you work a 9 to 5 and you work for somebody else and you're getting a check every single month to make you feel like you can degrade an industry that is, you said it's the oldest profession in the world. It is. Whatever field you're in, cybersecurity, your field is only 20 years old. So no matter how much you may feel you're better than me and you may feel like I'm a whore, whatever way you put it, just also do understand that you are not. And I don't care how much that may sound like, you make fun of my hair. Mind you, this is my hair. There's no wig in it. It's just locks. I don't know how this locks is a whole degrading term because black people have locks, but you felt like it was a punchline to throw it in there and say it was a wig. You feel mighty and mighty because you're in the corporate setting that you are and you have it. But I have 3 engineering degrees. I've worked in all corporate. I've made more money, flipped my money to start 3 businesses in my country. I hire 50 people in a third world country who didn't have a way to make ends meet, and now I fund them. I'm building a tech company in Nigeria. I built a rap company. As a rapper, I built an industry now. So you talk about my industry because of how I make money, but ask me how I flip my money. Now I'll show you I'm a businesswoman. My coochie is the business. So thank you very much for that opinion.
May I
Jr.
respond
I
to
want
that?
to. She made some assertions that we have to address that are going to just be imperative.
May I also
The best part about what
That's
you
gonna be
said
next.
is anytime that you cite your credentials to someone and that you don't know, you run the risk of what happened to you. You
No,
have
you just did that to
wait.
Hold
me.
I
on, hold
You
didn't
on,
did
Miss
that to
Georgia.
I
Miss,
me.
didn't
Miss
cite my
Georgia, he did
credentials
not cut
ever.
you
I've
off.
never once
He did
talked
not cut
about
you
my
off.
degrees, the fact that I have 3 master's degrees, or the fact that you employ 50 third world country. I employ 275 Americans. So
yeah,
like when you start trying to pull these numbers out of your ass, it doesn't work. So the second thing was the joke. Me just talking about your Targaryen wig was just a joke because I just finished watching Game of Thrones and you look like one of the Targaryens, like the one black one. Like that was it. I was just making a joke because one, I was trying to cut the tension because you and Ann looked like y'all were about to beef. But the third thing you said was that we need to find out what she does with her money. No one cares what y'all do with your money any more than we care about what a drug dealer does with his. He can make $1 million selling dope and then go start a nonprofit. Either way, that nigga's still funding the detriment of his community by selling drugs. So there's no moral high ground that you can have.
Let him finish. He didn't cut you off.
And then, like, just to understand, you're saying you know someone who makes 1.2 million a month, right? Like you claim to know somebody that, right? Well, let's talk about what we do. If you don't make $1.2 million a month, all it is speculation and conjecture because you can't prove it. If you want to talk about money or finances, there's not very many people on the panel that you can touch in that regard. So like when you try to use these power bases, is it how much money you have when you don't know the exact point, the exact background of the people you arguing with, you have this habit of running into this brick wall that you did. I'm not in the corporate space. I'm not an employer. I'm an employee. I'm not someone who is just sitting in these meetings or in these rooms. I understand that niggas like me are paying women like you. But what you don't understand is that we don't respect you. You're a tool. And because you're a tool, that's what I'm trying to prevent West from highlighting is women thinking, well, I got a vagina, so I can go sell this shit. If I need to make some quick money, like everybody, I'm in a bind, Nate. That's pretty much like your slogan for work right now. And that's what I'm trying to make sure that the panel, other people in this environment understand. Go ahead, Ann.
Beautifully said, Willie. Okay, so to piggyback off of what he was saying, you having to flex your accolades and your accomplishments and the money you make does not tell us anything other than the fact that your worth and your sense of value comes from external forces. I don't want women and girls to think that they have to consistently sell themselves and get validation outside of themselves in order to be seen as valuable. I love that you've had all these different experiences, but I can't help but feel sad when I hear you say, oh, well, you didn't have daddy's money, so you just have to do what you have to do. Do you really think that we should normalize a society where girls think that their only way out of circumstances of survival is becoming some sex slave to some weirdo who doesn't actually value you? What do you think that does to a girl's mentality? You're over here trying to promote this, but you're also erasing the fact that all these girls have many girls have mental disorders. Many girls continue to be sex trafficked. Many girls do not know what it's like to experience intimacy without an exchange involved. And that's not normal, actually. It should be normal that you have people that care about you. And that's just my idealistic part. The real part that I want to address with you is, I don't know your background. I don't know what caused you to make these decisions. And I think you are an incredibly smart person to have done what you've done. But I can't help but think that it's so lazy of you and disrespectful to come up here and say we should somehow protect sex workers and give them grace, but then at the same time, Sha'Carri needs to hold herself to a higher standard because blah, 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 blah. You're inconsistent because you only want to justify your behavior, and I think you're a liar. I do appreciate the engagement, but let me take a minute to address something really, really important. The most important thing that will ever happen in your life is the relationships that you cultivate with your community. How you have real, authentic, deep community and love is more important than any bag that you collect. And until you actually allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to experience that intimacy with another person, you're going to consistently have these weird, like narcissistic battles about who's on top, who's this, who's that. And I wish you would see that that is not actually normal.